Perimeter and circumference tell us about the outside of the figure. Perimeter is going to be any closed geometric figure, but circumference is going to be specialized in dealing with circles. Perimeter can be defined as the distance around a figure. It's found by adding the side lengths together. If you take this triangle, its side lengths are 9, 12, and 11, so you can add those together. I chose to put 9 and 11 together because those fit together very nicely to make 20. Add 12 to that, you get 32 centimeters. It's just centimeters, not centimeters squared, because this is a one-dimensional description. It's not talking about inside the figure, it's talking about outside, and we're adding centimeters, not multiplying them, so it doesn't change the power of centimeters. For this rectangle, I have dimensions of 15 and 32, and even though it doesn't list, up top is 32 and over to the right is 15 because of opposite sides of rectangles being congruent. So you can either add 15 plus 15 plus 32 plus 32, or what I think is a little bit easier to do is to multiply 2 times the width plus 2 times the length. So you might see this as a formula, 2W plus 2L. 2 times 15 is 30, 2 times 32 is 64, 30 plus 64 is 94 meters. Circumference is the distance around a circle. We have to treat circles differently because if you were to use a ruler to measure a circle, that ruler doesn't bend around the circle. So here are some things that have been discovered about circles. For every circle, the ratio of the circumference to the diameter is the same. So this ratio, C over D, is represented by the Greek letter pi, called pi. It's two parallel lines with kind of a squiggle on top. You'll find it on your calculator if you're using my calculators. Let me find it. It is the secondary function above the exponent. That gives you the exact representation of pi. On the calculator, it goes 3.141592654, and actually it goes on beyond that. Pi is an irrational number, meaning it cannot be exactly represented by a fraction. So your calculator is only holding the digits that will fit into the calculator screen. For our purposes, we're going to use the rounded version of 3.14. So any of my calculations that I've made, I have multiplied times 3.14. If you use the pi button on your calculator, yours might be a few digits off in maybe the hundredth or the thousandth place. It's represented by the Greek letter pi because it was a Greek guy, I'm pretty sure it was Pythagoras, that discovered pi. And we'll do some activities where we discover pi ourselves and where that came from. So pi is about, that's what the two squiggles mean, it's about 3.14, or the ratio 22 to 7. This is not exactly what pi is, but that's about as close as we can get if we want it to look like a fraction. We use that to find our circumference formula. Circumference, capital C, is equal to pi times the diameter. So let's practice finding circumference. Anytime you're working with formulas, I highly encourage you to write the formula that you're using. That helps you to memorize those formulas. Circumference equals pi times the diameter. I've been given 14 centimeters. It's halfway across the circle, and that is the radius. So it needs to be doubled. So that's why I have 2 in there. It's going to be pi times 2 times 14, which is 28. So the diameter of that circle was actually 28. Like I said, I used 3.14 for pi times 28. I got 87.92, and I rounded each of these to the nearest tenth. That's what I've done through everything in this lesson, and that gives me 87.9 centimeters. And I have the squiggle because not only have I rounded, I've used an approximation for pi as well. For the second one, we're given the diameter of 8 inches, so put that in for the diameter. Pi times 8 is 25.12, which rounds to 25.1 inches. Here are some for you to try, and be sure and include the unit of measurement in your answers. On practice A, add the side lengths together. 5 plus 7 plus 6. 5 and 7 give you 12. 12 plus 6 is 18 inches. On practice B, I have 2 widths and 2 lengths. So 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 10 is 20. 16 plus 20 is 36 meters. C, for my first circle, circumference equals pi times the diameter. I'm given the diameter of 35. Pi times 35 ends up being 109.9 meters. It came out to the nearest tenth, so no need to round on that one. On D, which I'd forgot to write the letter D, so I wrote that in for you. Circumference equals pi times diameter. The diameter is 10.2 because I doubled the radius of 5.1. Pi times 10.2 is 32.028. Round that to the nearest tenth, so I look back 1, it stays the same, so I have 32.0 centimeters.